Welcome everyone to episode 6 of Fortcast Fridays with me, your host, Xeltheires101, with my lovely partner, Natalie Tay. And today, we are joined by a special guest, Zell. Zell, say hi.
Hello. Hi.
And today will be an interesting one because Zell has studied video games before, right?
Mm.
Was it art? Was it specifically?
Um, Specifically, my course was IT graphics multimedia,
Mm-hmm.
more to graphics engineering, but I have like electives on game design and 3D animation and so on and so forth.
Ah, okay. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we will be discussing a lot about storytelling actually. With video games being the medium of one of the best storytelling pieces, I'll admit myself. Personally, I just really enjoy video games being like a narrative tool. Um, and yeah, another interesting thing that we'll be talking about, which Ned and I like spent, I don't know, 40 minutes just galling about it, was about expansion of video games outside of games.
Mm.
Something that we did not discuss with you, but we have told you upfront before. Hopefully, you've read the questions.
Yeah. Sorry, expanding video games outside of again?
Expanding video game stories outside of games.
Like
Oh, okay.
franchising
Yes. Yeah, I guess
Mm.
franchising basically.
Mm.
Yeah. So Zell, why don't you start by a quick introduction of yourself while we ready up?
Will do. Okay. Hello there, fellas. It is I, the Frenchiest Fry. My name is Xeltheires. You guys can call me Zell. I am a. Oh, should I have to raise already? Okay. I am a multi-game streamer. I play all kinds of game. I have all kinds of interests here and there. You guys can just throw me pretty much almost any game. If it clicks or I feel like it's interesting, I'll play it. Usually, I don't like cliches. I like chaos. For aside from that, I used to be a very sweaty player. I used to join esports tournaments, league. I used to play CS:GO, FPS, and so on and so forth. I started streaming when I was 18 or around just after 17.
Oh,
After SPM, I used to be part of like for those who are old here, it's called Garena Talk or G Talk. I used to be part of a nighttime DJ. I played all kinds of songs, I sing, I stream some games, play with some viewers. But it was just pretty much small stuff, nothing crazy. I just played League, and I think at that time was Blackshot and Path of Exile during the beta for Garena. I study in IT graphics multimedia, but I've been an enthusiast on game mechanics and all kinds of the other parts aside from graphics of games or any kind of media, i.e., for example, music, video camera angles, or whatsoever. The monologue, the storytelling aspects, and all that. What is that sound? That sound, my dear friend, is Fortnite, which is what we're playing.
Did you not put it on screen?
I did. I was surprising people. Come on. We're still talking.
You know the game.
Shh.
Your mod's just calling you out on this.
Shut up. But yeah, that's a little bit about me, I guess. Anything else, you can just ask me directly.
I guess we can ask a bit more, like, especially when it comes to your streaming quote unquote career with Twitch. Like, when did you begin streaming, and like, why did you start streaming?
Okay. Do I say it now?
Yeah,
Is that the question? Okay.
that's two questions,
Okay.
but yes.
The reason why I started streaming again because it's a passion. I love being in ACG community, esports, games, for example. I'm more to like the professional side of playing these games. By professional, I mean like event planning, event making, tournaments, and whatnot. I try to do the non-fun stuff for people to have fun. So basically, the term "by the gamers for the gamers" is actually I'm living that. So I love doing those things. Like, you guys want to go join the tournament? Yeah, we can do that. We make you the merchandises and whatnot in the highest quality form possible. and still makes it fun. That's what I like to do. So you guys want to buy good merchandises and whatnot? I used to do it nicely. We even beat our own uni's merchandising team. Ours is just way much more cooler and nicer looking. So that's what I love. When I started back Twitch is just also the reason why I wanted to go back into streaming and playing games with people again, like how I did in Garena.
So back then when you were doing, it was called Garena Talks, is it?
Garena Talk.
Right. So back then, that was actually your first exposure to streaming, is it?
It was just random stuff. I was just like, hey, let's just do this for fun. And then, oh, I can do this. Wait, this is fun. I took this guy hostage. I just did it for fun, and I just did it with a few friends, and then it became something that stuck with me. And I love entertaining people. I kind of believe that one of the things as my fallback plan to be an entertainer. So entertaining in terms of like streaming or whatever is fun for me. I love doing that.
Aw, that's nice.
Interesting. I don't think we've ever heard anyone give that as an excuse to stream.
Yeah, I mean we're like 6 episodes in, right? Granted, like 2 or 3 of those episodes were like focused on Star and I, but even like Star and my reason for streaming is very, I would say, typical. Like we heard very like typical answers. Like a lot of people began because they were lonely during the pandemic, or they started because streaming just became popular within like the past 2 or 3 years. Or some of them started because their friends started and they just like jumped on together. So it's your reason for starting stream is kind of unique.
It's actually so much fun when I started streaming and I just do all kinds of shenanigans. That's why in my stream is just like non-rule. It's like very unruly. Anything can happen if you guys want to go for it. So if something does happens on stream, like scuff and whatnot, it's actually part of the stream. I don't actually deny it. It's what makes it fun.
So you said when you started streaming when you were 18, that was with Garena, right? Back then, it wasn't with this channel.
No, it wasn't. It was just something I just press play, or I just join a room and then, okay, Zell, it's your turn to do this. And like, oh, okay, sure, I'll take over.
Back then, was it on Twitch as well?
No, it was on some a third-party application from Garena called Gtalk or Garena Talk.
Actually, the platform was called Garena Talk.
Yes, correct.
Ew.
So at that time, a lot of like not recently, like I think before the pandemic, there was a few people who are streaming on Twitch. I think it was they're models and whatnot. Like I forgot who they called, but they got popular on Twitch because they started from Gtalk. They got paid by SGD and whatnot. I used to almost get paid by SGD. I had to get like I had to reach a threshold to become properly and formal for them to pay. But when the moment university started, there's no internet and whatnot. It's just okay. That's it. It's just
That sucks.
yeah. It's just something in the moment kind of thing.
You know what's funny? If we were American, if we were white, legit, the story would be you would not go for uni and you just start streaming.
Yeah. Not gonna
Like,
lie. Yeah.
Don't go to
Here's
college.
the Asian
thing.
mindset. Yeah, drop out from college, became a streamer.
So
There's the Asian mindset.
there is a story on that one though. I founded the esports club for my university, and I also officiated the Japanese culture club on my university. There was a thing that came with the esports though. Our university was was about to change and update their entire internet to from like what 1G to 10 GB. We proposed to the, what do you call that, HEP. What do you call HEP again? Halewal Plaja? The student affairs, sorry.
Student affairs, right?
Yeah. So we proposed to the student affairs, like, rather than you guys block the internet now, why do you guys open it as part of like our founding gift and whatnot? We did. We actually unlocked the entire internet for the whole entire uni for you guys to play games and whatnot. I was using Wi-Fi and downloaded either movies or games, right? It was actually 200 Mbps. Wi-Fi was so freaking fast.
Crap.
Goddamn.
But the moment the next semester started, the student affairs called me and my co-founder, questioned us because the entire graph of CGPA just went down for the entire university. So,
Whoops.
yep, it was fun. I like it. It stabilizes in the next few semesters, but it opened up a very big avenue where we propose where formality and properness of a person, the black and white and whatnot, can also be enjoyable. If you want to play something fun like play games and whatnot, that doesn't mean you can't train yourself to be proper, to know all this knowledge about contracts or constitution or all these things. That is not the fun stuff. You know what I mean? I'm just going around in circles because I am so not used to this, to talk like this.
Like how, you mean?
Podcasting, like, oh, thank you.
Yeah, you'll get used to it, don't worry.
Yeah.
While playing Fortnite?
Yes.
Well, playing something that, I've never played this game before, so I don't have everything on muscle memory. So I'm processing data at the same time trying to process another data.
Again, you'll get used to it, don't worry.
If you invite me to play League, hell yeah, I can do that.
Oh,
we have
no.
standards.
Wow.
Wow. Also, I've never touched League in my life, so that would have been a challenge.
Man.
Again, we have standards.
It's okay. We're here to carry.
Bless.
Atlas will be... Do you know Atlas? Atlas City GG?
Oh yes, Atlas will be here to hard carry us shortly.
Yes.
So he'll join us halfway, I think.
Let me drop him a message just to... Special guest star Atlas.
More like guest carrier. He's been like our de facto like fourth member of the podcast for a couple of weeks now.
Pretty
And he
much.
just joins us and plays the game in the background and like carries us while we focus on podcasting, and it's great.
I mean, he has to do his dailies and weeklies, so...
Are
a
you
great
sure?
excuse
Okay.
for him.
But yeah,
This is
so
nice.
The ring.
This guy looks like a Proton Saga.
actually,
you gotta-
no, a little bit.
I'm gonna take a screenshot and then send and put the Potan Saka logo on it. But yeah, Nat, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, so Zell, you mentioned earlier that you studied you didn't actually study game design, which is something that I thought you always did all this while that we've known each other. I always thought you studied game design. I was really surprised like a few days ago when I found out that you didn't actually do game design. So where does this like passion for game design come from? Because you are what probably like when I think about any of the Cham Drinkers that's like passionate about game design, you always come to mind first.
I'm out.
Okay, that's how it is. All right. Game design is for me. I always try to understand a certain aspect of a game or a certain aspect of anything. Basically, like why is it interesting to you, and why is it not interesting to me? So what makes it? What makes that a difference, right? Like for example, some people might like Tom Yum, and some people might not like Tom Yum. So same goes to games. Why do you like FPS games and why do you like this games and that game? To me, almost every games that I play are enjoyable. It's fun if it has good design. If it doesn't have good design, and if I say it's basically bad, usually it's gonna be bad. I have my standards is like how do you put this?
Hi.
Not high. Like I played pixel games. I play literally stickman games or games that's literally free on like Flash Player or whatever. I play almost any games that is fun for me. And then like I see these games with high graphics and whatnot, I feel like, okay, that's not part of it. And I get to the point where when I study the game, the one I'm playing, how does this game, for example, Genshin, Risk of Rain, and Valheim, these 3 games that people are playing a lot nowadays, right? The cheap, good games. These 3 are from the same game engine. Basically, it's all 3 of them is Unity. And how does Genshin able to be played on phone while the other 2 can't? And how are like the other 2 games can have its own lagness when Genshin is very, very smooth? So Valheim is not that smooth.
Oh, really?
No. You actually have to optimize it a bit. It's actually not as smooth as Genshin, even though Genshin looks much more beautiful in compared to Valheim. Risk of Rain will get very laggy the moment where you get a lot of particles, a lot of ads or monsters. Entities, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I try to understand that concept on games. Like there's this game called Age of Wonders 2, the Wizard's Throne. It was a game released at 1990. No, that's 2002. So by Triumph Studios. So it's my first game ever played. I love strategy games, but the graphics on this game, when I compared it to newer games, when I started playing again like 2008, 2009, the graphics on Age of Wonders 2 is still good or better than the games that was released like 6 years after or 8 years after. And it doesn't lag out. And I'm like, why? How is that possible? So I studied like how did they put the resources, all the entities, all the effects and whatnot, and I understand it. Oh, okay. It's a lot more crude, but it was much more beautiful and nicer. The particles were amazing. It's beautiful. I played some on stream with Jimmy, one of my mods. It's fun. It's simple. And then like Age of Wonders 3 came out on 2019. It was laggier. It was worse, in my opinion, in terms of graphics optimization. And I'm like, okay, that really piqued my interest. Where, how do you create a game that is so well optimized, even rather than using the same like Unity or whatever, and also create a very good gameplay with it? So things I take a look at, like in StarCraft, games that has a lot of mods, for example, Skyrim. Skyrim is huge, but till today it's amazing. You can make it less laggy, you can make it more laggy. There's so many things you can do with that game. So
okay, sorry, I just want to sidetrack real quick. I don't know if you guys are aware. Did you know someone modded Skyrim to play Oblivion?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. That was
right, Oblivion, right?
Oblivion.
Yeah.
The previous Skyrim, the previous Elder Scrolls game.
Yes.
So you can play Oblivion for free if you have Skyrim.
Correct.
Huh?
Yeah, people there.
Yep. Yeah. So this is what I like about games, when it's really just like it's, even though you've drawn everything on a canvas, there's still room for you to paint something, to do something, to add something. So
okay.
yeah.
Interesting.
So the reason why I love passion about game design, where it's pretty much just like, what more can you do with a game that's already, people said, complete? They released it. And I was from a time where there was no game updates. If there's a new game update, they release it as called the sequel, basically.
Overwatch.
Oh my god, we don't talk about much.
Oh my
I'm
god.
a salty bitch.
I could agree. I am actually agreeing with that.
But yeah, basically that concept where like there was no updates on content. I think Call of the Lamb, they are giving out like free updates. Which two is supposed to come out this year. One early, then one more late this year.
Huh.
Which, yeah, actually, now that you mention it, Zel, oh, that's not you in the car. I thought that was you in the car, Zel.
Nah, I'm not that crazy.
But yeah, now that you mention it, actually, I don't think people used to do that. Like, give up basically free content.
Oh,
I'm not,
That's a-
honestly, I'm not an old enough gamer to remember. Because I only properly started gaming like 3 years ago? Or 2 years ago?
Oof.
Like
I was on the
my
wrong
gaming journey, like pretty much started with like hand in hand with my streaming journey almost.
There's one right up there.
So it's interesting to hear you guys talk about it. Because this is like, I mean, I played Flash games and everything, but that's probably my limited experience with it.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oof.
Games, like, I always love where the moment like when I heard Cham Drinkers is all about indie games, I'm like, oh, okay, sure. That's fun. I'll take it. Oh, that's a range attack. I did not know that.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay, yeah, okay, thank you. Indie games. So indie games, I love indie games because one, it's not an expensive game. And Cult of the Lamb, to me, it's an indie game because it's not big. Anything that is not AAA game, I call it an indie game, regardless of how much it priced. So, Cult of the Lamb is an amazing game due to the replayability and due to it includes the entire community to play with you. So, every single playthrough is different, like Hades, like Risk of Rain. And you also invite community to play with you. That increases the fun of the game. Most of like the bigger streamers or even like us, when we have like at least 10 people active in chat, you want to try to entertain everybody. You want to play with people if you're a community type person. So having games like that makes it so much fun. For example, 7 Days to Die, there is there is a mod or like a plugin for you to link your Twitch to 7 Days to Die and people will just suffer. Okay, it's fun, but
True.
it's fun.
Actually, yeah, I've been really loving some of the Twitch integrations for games recently. Even Life is Strange True Colors, which I played recently, although I didn't use the Twitch integration for that because it wasn't extensive enough. But they actually allowed chat to vote on major decisions in the game. I think As Dusk Falls actually has a more comprehensive version of that, where chat can vote on every single choice that you make. So it's very cool. It really changes the way like the game gets played.
Yeah.
Also, I want to shout out what Juan has said, that there's another community that remodded the entirety of Mario Odyssey from scratch to enable online multiplayer hide and seek, and they even added various different mods and gameplay styles. That's hardcore because Mario Odyssey is Nintendo.
Okay.
Modding a
the fuck do
Nintendo
you
game
mod?
is different.
Yeah, how do
Okay.
you mod Nintendo games?
Nintendo games are actually okay. So this is where the Game Geek comes out, right?
Okay, yes, do share. This is what the podcast is all about.
So Nintendo games are actually one of the easiest one for you to recreate because the way they create their game is like a layer upon layer upon layer. If you notice, almost any Nintendo game will never have a lag, and it'll always look so damn good. So there's a reason behind that. So one of the video that I watched was a 30-minute long video. The reason why they can make such vast places without any lag is they do shortcuts. Aside from they have their own game engine and whatnot, the way they make sure it doesn't lag is very, very smart. For example, if you take a look at the sea north of us here, it's actually effects on effects. So the way they did it different is basically they put a texture and add a little bit of like attributes to it, and then it looks very real. And you just need to play with effects, like adding one layer effect to make it much more realistic. For this one, you actually have to mess with the water physics. You actually have to mess with a lot of other things. You actually have to effects. So it's layers upon effects and upon layers and upon effects, which creates a very laggy game. While Nintendo doesn't do that. Hence, that's why one of the best games like Legend of Zelda: The Majora's Mask is so not laggy, and you can put a lot of things. There's so much content, and you can probably have a lot of things spawn at the same time and still no lag. That's Nintendo games. And when new ones comes out, I think was it Odyssey, the one with like gravity defying stuff,
Gravity
Um,
defying stuff.
the spherical.
It was the one
map.
where you throw a hat. And
Oh,
it,
okay.
the sphere.
The
Sorry,
sphere.
the one that you're thinking of, I think, is Mario Galaxy.
Okay, yeah. So Mario Galaxy, they actually found out a new way to create a map. So the way they texture the map, they render the map is more different, and it's a lot more optimized for their game engine. And the same goes for, I'm gonna off tangent a bit. The reason why Disney has so much good animations because every single movie that they released is to try out something new in terms of like rendering and whatnot. Like the previous released movie was actually for the next released movie to make sure it actually opens up a lot, or like it tries to tell the story even beautifuler. I think it was, for example, Monsters Inc. came out due to fur rendering, hence making like every other movie that came out after Monsters Inc. to have much more better fur rendering, hair rendering, and whatnot.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
Yes, that's actually legit.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yes. So the same goes for Nintendo. Nintendo does the same thing, which makes it like almost, you can always understand where any Nintendo game that is going to be released in the future is never going to be unoptimized graphics. It's going to be amazing. It's going to look good. It's going to be nice. And as of now, most unfortunately, Japanese game companies are releasing shitty games. For example, Forspoken.
Reviving.
Oh, I
Yeah, that
believe
will-
it was the same for oh no. But yeah, I believe it was the same for when Disney was making a transition to 3D graphics, right?
Oh yes. Mhm.
From Princess and the Frog to Tangled. And then what worked with Tangled worked really well, and then moving forward they did pretty much everything 3D.
Yes. Oh no.
It's okay, no pressure
you're
though.
Sup, bros?
Okay, then we have to ask the follow-up question of what is your favorite game then?
Game, literally, specifically favorite game or
Yeah.
game genre?
Ooh.
Let's go
Um,
with game genre first. I think that's easier to answer.
Yeah, sure.
Strategy.
Strategy games.
Oh.
Yes. Something that makes, okay, every game has meta, the way you have to play the game. But
Yes.
the moment you get creative with the game, you find out very easy way to play the games, while at the same time complementing the way you play, and comfortably too. That's the juice. That's the best. That's my favorite game genre. Strategy, tactics. That's why if I imply those kind of playstyle or like mentality when I play League, when I play what else? I don't know, Fortnite, NGS, or any kind of games, even Valorant, it creates a very unconventional way of playing it. And if you understand how it works, it's interesting, it's weird, people will flame for you for it, but it works. And people will be like, why? That's my favorite. That's why I love chaos. That's my game genre, strategy.
Nice. It's a very rare like favorite genre these days.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's fairly rare. It's fairly rare. Cause like I think if we ask a lot of people what their favorite genres are now, they'll always say RPG, or like open world or horror. These are like very, very common ones. Strategy is interesting. So what is your favorite strategy title then?
Okay, I have to go back a bit. I have to ask this question first. What was your first game ever played?
Ooh, me?
Yeah.
Ah, fuck.
Ugh. This is really difficult. Because when I started gaming.
Yeah, literally started
like
gaming.
okay. Let me give you some context, right?
Okay.
My first console was a Nintendo Switch.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. I have to set the scene, right? I have played games before then, but they were all like flash games online, or like the DVD that your parents bring home for you to play as a kid.
The one from the cereal box?
I don't think I've actually played the one from the cereal box.
Holy shit, I
But,
actually remember that.
Some of the earliest games I remember playing were like the Shrek 2 movie to video game adaptations.
Oh.
Or like Princess and the Pauper, you know, movie to video game adaptation. So like I don't know if I can really answer that question because it's not, I can't actually say like Final Fantasy or something because I did not like grow up with
I mean, okay, the Shrek video game adaptation, I would say it was a real game. Is a real game.
It was fun.
So.
It was technically a platformer.
I guess the best way for me to put it is like, what is the game that make you really get into gaming?
Oh, I have my answer. Onimusha Dawn of Dreams. Yes, too.
My man. Oh,
hell yeah. Dude,
oh, hell yeah.
The reason why that game touched me so much is because I remember that was the first game I genuinely cried from the ending.
Oh, so cute. Why?
I mean, I was like, what, 12, 13 when I played that game as well? I played
Your
games before.
emotion.
Yeah, like, as I'm not an emotional person, for those who don't know. I'm really not most of the time. But like, that was the
You're
game.
so, like...
What do you mean? I'm not emotional. But yeah, I remember playing that game and holy shit, I actually cried from the ending because it was so sad.
Between the two of us, I easily have like the ice cold heart that cannot be melted by anything.
That is true. You are the most robotic one.
Onimusha Dawn of Dream is just from the setting. If you actually played Onimusha 3, then you understand Tenkai and the story behind that. And
I didn't. That's the thing.
I actually played Dawn of Dream first, then 3, then Dawn of Dreams again. I cry even more.
Oh no.
I'm like, oh shit. Oh, okay. Alright. Nat?
What do we have? What about you, Nat?
Ooh. It's really difficult for me to answer because in a way I almost got into watching Let's Plays before I even started playing games. Like I would consider myself like part of that new gen of people who didn't start getting into games because of actually playing games, just because of like accessibility. Like I was running a really shitty laptop. There were a lot of games I couldn't play back then, and there were a lot of games that, I mean, frankly, when you're starting gaming this late, right? There's also the issue of I don't know where to start. You know. So. When I think about a game that I actually played by myself and that I finished and I loved, probably Ori and the Blind Forest. I also 100%ed that game. That's how much I loved it. It's if you're not familiar, it's Metrovania platformer.
I know.
Yeah, so it's probably that for me.
Okay. Mine, I was 7. No, actually, the first game I ever touched and played. Oh, hi.
Yeah, Alice is here.
The game that I actually made me really got stuck with games that I want to play more is Diablo 2 when I was 5 years old. So that was my first game I ever touched.
5 years old!
Yes, my uncle was playing it. He wasn't a religious man back then. He was pretty much okay with like rock stuff, all kinds of like the monarchy, sanctuary devils and whatnot. Now he's like pretty much the always go to mosque guy. Yeah, literally like that was that. Okay, so he introduced me to that game, and the first game that I actually ever played by myself, I called mine, is StarCraft 1 and StarCraft Brood War.
Oh shit!
And I played that when I was 7. So I loved it so much. I love being able to command my armies, do all kinds of crazy stuff. Played it weirdly, and yeah. So from then on, that's how game the strategy games got stuck with me, and all kinds of other games after that.
Wait, one of you guys get on my bike first. Yeah, I don't think you can go up.
You guys go. I'll meet you there since I'm more familiar with the map.
Okay.
We're just cutting straight through.
Yep.
I have a dirt bike.
Yeah.
Also, Monty, hello. Monty says Uncle Insaf already.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Mon, we have a very important question to ask you later.
Can't believe.
But yeah, I just realized that the way that Zell thinks about video games is the way that Sarah and I feel about marketing. Like
Huh?
the level of geek that you are about games is the level of geek that we are about marketing. Like our entire podcast has unintentionally turned into a marketing podcast, and it will soon in a while. Again,
Yes.
change into a marketing podcast. But
It will in a
yeah,
bit.
it's cool.
It will, definitely.
I don't mind. I mean, I'm pretty much doing that in real life. The poor aminal.
Okay, but yeah, now that we kind of have an understanding of everybody's like first games or favorite games, maybe we can segue to like the first proper question that we have on the list, which
Yes.
is because we wanted to talk about video games, but we wanted to talk specifically about video games as a storytelling medium. Because recently there's been a lot of video game adaptations. Zell, I don't know if you're watching the Last of Us adaptation.
No, I haven't watched it yet.
But yeah, anyway, a lot of people are watching it, talking about it. Like, it's happening all at the same time with like the Uncharted adaptation recently. Even Tomb Raider got rebooted, I think, the movie fairly recently. So yeah, we wanted to talk specifically about storytelling today. So we've asked you what your favorite video game is. What is your favorite video game story? What is your favorite story in a video game? Is the follow-up question.
Ooh. Ooh. Fuck.
Because
That's
it's totally
a tough
different,
one.
right?
No, please.
Oh! I'm dead.
I see
you're
it.
the only one. You should be low. But yeah, what is your
My
favorite
favorite
narrative
story.
game? Yeah, your favorite story in a game.
I have to like go back to my entire database of games. Like I really love the story till today that I remember. Okay.
You can say a few. You don't have to see just one.
No, that's the thing. Like, I don't play a lot of like story-based games, but if I want to say one of my favorite ones, could be the Dot Hack series. That's one of it.
Dog hack?
The Dot Hack.
Hack.
Yeah, Dot Hack Volume 1 to
Okay.
4. Haseo storyline. Okay. Onimusha series from 1 till 4. That is the PS2 era. For PC era, I love StarCraft 1, 2, and StarCraft 1 and StarCraft Brood War. Sorry. I love PSO2 base story. It's a nice one. What else do I play? I think that's pretty much it for now. I'll tell later if there's anything popped up in my head.
Can. Also, where are you? Oh, you're all the way back there.
Where am I? Oh, okay, where am I?
Beautiful.
But okay, I'm not so familiar with those
getting
game
I'm getting
titles.
shot.
What genres are those game titles?
I'm getting shot. Give me a sec. Onimusha is RPG. Onimusha is RPG. What else do we have? What did I say just now? StarCraft is
Dot Hack?
Dot Hack series is RPG. JRPG.
Okay, let's run.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Wrong way.
You didn't know. So, okay, I'm just curious. What about indie games? What are your favorite story indie games?
Risk of Rain.
Risk of Rain? Story?
Risk of Rain has a story. It's a deep lore.
I know it has, but
Guys,
like
get in
it's
the
not.
car.
I'm fine. I know it has. Also, we should take the zipline, not the car.
Oh no!
That's why.
Well, shit. The story is not to say made up, but at first it was just like made up, but then the developers got wind of it and started to make it canon.
Okay.
Wait, made up?
Yeah, so people made
A
it
bunch
up.
of lore theories and whatnot,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Even in mods and whatnot, but they made it like into a proper story after. So I love that one. That is one of the nicest ones, in my opinion. Oh, hey, why are you shooting at me, bro? That's kind of rude.
But for you, what
Oh.
classifies like something as a good story or a bad story?
Not cliche, not direct. Something that puts you in a way where... Wait, give me a sec. That's a hit. Somewhere where it doesn't actually... You know, it's not cliche, per se. Like, oh, you know how it's gonna end. It's just another good ending story. Am I getting shot at still? Oh, we are. And
Oh,
he's dead.
Risk of Rain was fan-made lore turned to canon. Oh, that's interesting.
Yes. And the fan-made lore wasn't like shallow. It's quite deep.
Oh, that's really cool. I can't think of another game that like has done something like that.
To the left? You jumping?
Is that the only game that has ever done something like that, actually? Because usually, I mean, developers are so like happy to ignore fan-made lore.
Depends.
That I'm not too sure.
Down there? Like, the story that doesn't go too shallow and it actually... And the more you read up on it, the more you understand,
Return
like...
to lobby first.
The more you read up on it, the more you try to understand the lore, the story, it gets deeper and deeper. So stuff like this includes like Dark Souls, Elden Ring. At first it was just basic. It's just like, oh, there's characters, a story behind them. But the more you read to them, the more you read through all the things and the side characters, side enemies that you see, you'll find out that, oh, there's more story to this. It's not just something just placed there. Hence making the story much more nicer. And after that, when the sequel comes out, you find out like, oh shoot, this was the guy back then. So if you want me, the most interesting storyline that I've loved so much, okay, I remember one. Drakengard to Nier. So
Is this an indie game? Because I have not heard of that before.
oh no, this is not an indie game. This is a completely AAA level game. Japanese Square Enix level. It's actually Square Enix.
I never heard of that.
Okay, so you know Nier Automata, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so before Nier Automata or before Nier Replicant and whatnot, Gestalt and so on, was Drakengard series. So Drakengard 1, 2, 3. So the same goes for Nier. These games have like different endings. There's good endings, there's bad endings. So the good ending of Drakengard 2 goes to Drakengard 3. But one of the bad endings for Drakengard 2 actually branches off into a Nier storyline. So that's where it gets interesting. So Nier,
Interesting.
in the entire Nier and Drakengard lore or series, the bad ending or good ending doesn't matter which, it happens. It's like a different timeline. It's not canon or whatever. So whatever happens, happens. So for example, the two endings of Drakengard in Drakengard 2, the canon one right now, the one that the developers are expanding, is going to Nier. So that's pretty much canon, basically the main storyline. But the good ending goes to Drakengard 3. So that is one of the endings, one of the timeline finish, and the other timeline just doesn't expand at all. So it goes
That
to
sounds so confusing.
exactly. So
Also, hold on, sorry to interrupt. Give me a sec. I'm gonna run to the toilet real quick, and then I'll be back.
sure.
And then we
Okay.
can jump into the next match.
All right.
Okay, I'm just gonna leave you guys on, so feel free to
Yeah,
continue talking. I'll
wanna
just mute myself.
I want to expand on what you are saying, Zel. I just want to ask. So, okay. Because that game you said is a AAA game, right? It's by Square Enix.
Yes, I think so. Near series, Near
And
Drakengard.
yeah, and you talk about how you enjoy Risk of Rain's lore, even though it was like fan-made base that the developers then only took seriously. How do you feel about indie versus AAA storytelling skills and the techniques that they use? Because yeah, you were talking about how the fact that the Nier series was like one bad ending led you to another game, then a good ending led you to a different game, whereas for Risk of Rain in this case is like the developers didn't really give a shit until the fan base wanted or created.
So
how do you feel like the difference is?
the difference is, okay, we have before we go to indie, we have to take a look at AAA first, right? So one of the best there's a lot of good AAA game that has amazing story, but I'm gonna take the one that I remembered from the top of my head that was good and turned to shit was The Last of Us and The Last of Us 2. So The Last of Us 1 has such an amazing storyline. The gameplay was just fairly simple. It wasn't much. It's just a storytelling game without the finicky choice, like what do you call that, The Walking Dead. So
yeah,
the storyline was amazing. The way you built it up and up until the end, it's satisfying to play. But in The Last of Us 2, the way they narrate the stories is completely not right. If the first scene in The Last of Us 2 was somewhere after the entire climax, like all the way back at the end, it's much more better way to explain the story. Not like suddenly they give you with a bang and like, hi, that happened. And
yep.
people are like, what the fuck was that? We don't understand. So
Okay.
that's AAA. In indie games, most of the stories was like people placing characters, like a D&D thing, right? People just place stuff here and there. They give you a setting and whatnot. The same goes for like, for example, Rooster Teeth RWBY. They pretty much just have all these things laid down in front of you, and then they just, hey, that sounds interesting. Let's make that into story and like let's expand on it. So there's like different storylines, different one. They just choose the best. So Risk of Rain, in the sense, happened where the player base just like, oh guys, this seems interesting. This seems like the most possibility that it could happen, and the devs like, hey, that's pretty cool. Let's take that and expand on it and make it like have a different kind of twist. The devs themselves are actually developing the storyline.
Yep.
So game developers are not just supposed to develop the game. It actually encompasses everything, including the story. So that's where I feel like if the story was developed properly, regardless of any game, I would love it. So AAA versus indie, the reason which one's better, it depends on how you want to create a story. Final Fantasy 13 was bad because the storytelling was bad. But if they told it better and not make it convoluted, it's amazing. Same goes for Kingdom Hearts 3, but Kingdom Hearts series in particular, Kingdom Hearts is convoluted. But for people who loves those kind of story and lore and whatnot, Kingdom Hearts is more, it's an acquired taste. I love it.
Yeah, because the reason why I brought it up is because I'm not saying one is better than the other. Obviously, to each their own, they have their own pros and cons. And especially because of budget, they would develop things very differently. Which actually brings up what I want to ask about. It's the next question about video games being looked down upon for many years as a form of art. But the narrative of it is starting to change. For example, I think the biggest example I can give is Black Mirror's Bandersnatch, where it is originally a series that was gamified. Not a true game, but it was at least gamified because it gives a player experience.
Okay, guys, I'm back. Sorry. My parents wanted to talk to me about chicken.
Right? What chicken? It's the year of the rabbit.
Roasted chicken.
Okay. And it's unmuted just for that. But yeah, as I was saying, video games perspective changed a lot. Yada yada yada. Biggest example, Bandersnatch, with Black Mirror.
I don't know what that is.
You've not? Wait, do you not know Black Mirror Bandersnatch?
Nope.
Okay, do you know what Black Mirror is at least?
No.
Oh, really?
Okay. I guess I need to give context for this. Black Mirror is a series on Netflix which basically explores like really grim ideas.
Oh, okay.
It first season mainly focused on like the technological part, but then after that they do explore more social grim ideas. Bandersnatch is similar to that in the sense that it does explore really dark and grim ideas, but the difference is it allows you, the viewer, to actually play into the story. So it's your very typical game where it's a choose your own adventure game basically
Okay.
on Netflix itself. So what do you feel about that? Like the fact that a lot of brands and I guess like companies are actually looking into gamifying their content, whether it be
Wait, that's an enemy.
yes,
Bye, have a good time.
like gamifying your content, whether it be the stories that they have or like just the brands and whatnot.
I don't mind about it. I kind of like okay with it. The best example for this is that some stories tend to have like better, should have different kind of endings depending on what you choose. The best example for this, where I like it, is like The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead is basically choose your own ending, choose your own story. They give you whatever you want, but it's kind of controlled, but at the same time you're kind of you have the freedom to have what kind of story you want. So like you choose who lives and who dies. Like it really takes out like some of the stories where they kill off a character and the whole entire fandom just went, why, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
due to that, to me, like having the viewer or like the fan base or the watcher, player, whatever, having this capability to control the entire thing is like, I don't know, I feel, oh fuck, I pressed that. I feel like it's a good approach. As long as the story is good, the gameplay is decent, not to say mediocre, but decent. It makes it like I don't mind. Like the thing is, it used to be almost the same, kind of. For example, in strategy games or in a lot of games where you work your butt off to reach a certain point of the game, it's like you actually reach that point of the story. You actually did something to reach that point of the story, but it was just a illusion of choice kind of thing. But then when they actually implemented that kind of mechanic or capability, you wait up over there.
Wait, so in the Walking Dead games, do they actually deviate from canon?
In the end, they made an ending that you kind of they give you the illusion of choice. In the end, it actually goes into canon seamlessly. So regardless of what you've done early on, you'll still get the canon story.
Yeah, I think that's been my like complaint with a lot of choice-based games thus far.
Choose your own adventure where the story is already done for you.
Yeah, I mean, all of the Life is Strange games are like that, right? Where the ending is kind of predetermined already. Probably the only choice-based game that truly changes the outcome. Road 96 kind of attempts this, but in a fairly like simple way. The one that attempts this on a very complex level is still Detroit Become Human for me.
Ah, true.
Because when characters die, it fully ends their storyline. There's no coming back from it.
Correct.
And I want there to be more choice-based games that are like that. But in terms of Bandersnatch, like, it was pretty revolutionary when it came out. I'm surprised you haven't heard about it, Zel. Or maybe, I mean, if you don't follow like Netflix that closely, then I understand why.
That might be why.
It was trending really hard because at that point in time, pretty much everybody had Netflix, and everybody was really obsessed with Black Mirror because the show was like,
Fucked up.
yeah, I would say controversial, almost for the sake of being controversial.
Honestly,
Yeah, it gave like a lot of people to talk about, especially I think to people who weren't into like geeky things. Because there's people like us, right, who like pretty much grew up on geeky things. Even though I started like gaming fairly late, right, I still grew up on like Star Wars. I was into like a lot of books growing up, sci-fi, name it, you know, I read it. But then Black Mirror was reaching out to all my friends who like couldn't give a rat's ass about you know, sci-fi. Sorry to be crude. But suddenly Black Mirror interests them, and then when Bandersnatch came out, it was like a new thing almost, because they had never experienced anything like so gamified before. Like for us, it's pretty how do I say? It's a format that's been done before, right? Like when Bandersnatch came out, the Telltale games were already a thing back then. Like we already knew like how the choice-based format works, you know, but Bandersnatch was new to like all these people.
Thanks, Atlas.
Alice bumped you with a hammer.
Oh,
you kind of bumped me back when I landed.
Oh,
I love so stupid this game. I love it.
sorry about that.
No, that's fine. I'm like,
Continue with the Bandersnatch.
no. So actually, like Bandersnatch might fit your qualifications of like a good story almost. If you're looking for stories that are like far from the cliche and like different from the norm. It was quite unique when it came out.
I see. Okay.
I might have fucked myself.
Rip.
Let's move on from the Bandersnatch thing since Zal doesn't know Bandersnatch.
But in the event of like
Yeah.
where the viewer can choose a story, right? I love that. Like this is where I love some story games. One of it, oh okay, now I remember the best story. Like okay, screw everything else. The best story game is Ace Combat by far.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, isn't Ace Combat flight simulator game?
Yes, it's an airplane game, but the story is just mwah. I
There's
love
a
it.
story in a fight simulator game. What the fuck?
Okay.
Flight, like flying.
Yeah.
Plane.
So
There's a
the
story.
yeah, so the entire time, okay, I'll go first for the Bandersnatch thing first. In Ace Combat X, I think, no, Ace Combat 3, where you finish certain missions, you get a different storyline. So as of now, during Ace Combat, before this, when Ace Combat 3 was released, nobody knew which story was the ending or was the canon and whatnot. So it might be like everything is just the right one. So any story could happen in the future. It's probably like a timeline or a you know, a story part story and whatnot. Why is it? Oh, okay. So Ace Combat story takes place in a world called Strange Real. Basically, it's kind of like a fantasy world. So we have Osia, Yuktubania, Belkin, and so on. So the story, the game released on Ace Combat 1 and 2, which has nothing to do with the story. And then we have Ace Combat 3, which takes place in 24T. And then we have Ace Combat 4, which takes place in 1998, I think. Wait up. I'm just...
Yeah, I can't help you guys because I am running on pistol and shotgun.
So
yes.
Ace Combat
Ace Combat.
3 what took place in 2014, and then Ace Combat 4 is 1998, and then Ace Combat 5 was around 2010 or 12, I think. So Ace Combat 5 started off in a story where 20 years ago there was a war that basically a country called Belka nuked their entire ground with 7 nukes. So to stop a war, basically. But that created a new war. That created also a new faction called the World with No Borders, the Gray Men kind of thing. There's so many names for them. So this is the timeline of the game released. And then after Ace Combat 5, they released a game called Ace Combat 0, which take place 20 years ago. So you relive the entire moments of how the war came to be, and you relive the entire like story where people dies or lives. Think and it gets to the point where the story gets so much more interesting, and then Ace Combat 6 release and whatnot. The story isn't that crazy, it's just a war story. But the friends that you have in game, the way they make you feel the moment where someone dies, it's the same thing. I cried both in Onimusha and Ace Combat 5. So that's saying something. if you cry during a game, that's saying something. And in Ace Combat 5 and 0, it really makes me feel where, oh shit, this story is amazing. I want to play more. I want to know more.
Yeah.
And then they released Ace Combat 6, which is Liberation of Grisamaria or something Grisamaria, I forgot. Eat that. Probably shouldn't have done that. And then that doesn't go follow the story. So, and then Ace Combat 7 was released, I think 2 years ago. So Ace Combat 7 happens after Ace Combat 5. But in terms of timeline, it happens just after Ace Combat 6. But the place that it took place in was the same place in Ace Combat 5, where the war is just pretty much over. People are enjoying their peace for like 10 years or a few years, and then war broke out again. Oh, hey, that's a tree.
Oh man.
Give me a sec.
I'm down.
There was one of the missions in Ace Combat 4 where you have to bomb or like destroy an entire fleet of ships. And then like in DLC for Ace Combat 7, which happens like 20 years after, one of the main villains in the DLC was actually one of the surviving officers in the Ace Combat 4 where you bombed the entire fleet. So they took over a submarine and tried to create or nuke the entire city. Basically, they took a nuke, tried to bomb KL kind of thing.
No.
Yeah, it's that equivalent. And I'm like, oh, okay. But Ace Combat has one of the best stories, has one of the best music. Keiki Kobayashi has the best music, a banger of a music for you to listen to even like work out, play games, even chill. It's just amazingly good in terms of those two. Me when Ace Combat 0. So Ace Combat in that sense is really hypey. I love it. But if you want
Ace Combat is developed by who?
Project Aces.
Which is a American company?
Japanese.
Japanese. Okay.
Yes. So I love Ace Combat series. Ace Combat has one of the nicest stories ever. I can't like so right now we're expanding to Ace Combat 3. That's going to be a remaster since Ace Combat 3 came out on PS1 and the graphics was just bad and whatnot. So they're going to the point where Ace Combat 3 has a lot of like technology, space stuff and whatnot. So it's gonna get remastered soon. So,
okay. Yeah, I was about to bring that up because I just remembered.
Okay.
Because you were talking about the Ace Combat series and the fact that it was remastering and also like expanding on its own universe. So this is more for like the newer games, I guess the question, which is, do you think video games will be produced with franchising in mind? Because Ace Combat was a series back in PlayStation, you said. But for example, games like Honkai Impact, Genshin, League of Legends, even Final Fantasy, most of them are Japanese as well as China, and also some Korean games. They develop the games as well as develop content outside of the game using the video games universe. Do you think more video games will do that in the future?
I thought like some games already done that. For example, where even before Genshin or Honkai Impact came out, it was pretty much Final Fantasy, World of Warcraft, for example. Blizzard universe, basically from Diablo to World of Warcraft, and what else? What CS:GO kind of thing. People are like kind of franchising it, like for example CS:GO or CS. Wait, are we already flying?
No.
Okay, so for
Oh wait, we
CS,
are flying. Yes.
Yeah, we are.
So for CS, for example, you don't even have to do much. You're pretty much just going to go out and buy a camo suit, a camo army suit or something. It's just pretty much how it is. And you can just already kind of like cosplay as CSGO.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about like fan-made content. I'm talking about like from the developers themselves.
Yes,
So,
but
for example, like Final Fantasy, they did the series, they did the movie.
Mhm.
Genshin was also doing an anime. League of Legends had in collaboration with a few K-pop groups. I don't know if it's actually K-pop.
It was some K-pop, like K-pop. It
K-pop.
was some K-pop singers, some
Yeah.
like Western singers.
yes,
Mm.
correct. Which is KDA, correct.
Yeah.
So to me, it started off as like fan stuff. Again, everything is just because of fan, and the developers or like the companies and whatnot, they saw like there's an avenue for it. Like, hey, might as well just try to do this. It's money. It's free money. So let's go for it, and they did. So, for example, World of Warcraft is now selling plushies and whatnot properly and whatnot. Blizzard is pretty much, and EA are pretty much the first few people who's going to do that, and has been doing that ever since. Genshin, Honkai Impact, and whatnot, they took it a step further, where the game is literally fan service. The character designs and whatnot, it's not just because the developer want them to be looking like that. The design of the characters, literally, I remember when Ayaka and a lot of like Kaching and Ningguang came out, it's just to entice players. Like, hey, look, this character's hot. Should pull for it. That's it. That's the entire marketing strategy of Genshin at one point. The story was not even good, even until Liyue.
No, it was not.
Yeah.
I'm with Zalmas. It was meh.
It was meh. It was mediocre. I wasn't okay. Like, it's like, oh, this is just a classic. I lost a sister, so now I'm in like a story where I'm just looking for my sister, and then like stuff happens, so I'm now technically the hero. Okay, cool. But then the story got interesting, and then the characters that came out was a lot more hotter. That's one, and a lot more practical. That's two. And some of them they're trying to attend to the cute ones. For example, Klee, and then they came out like a lot of other characters like
Naida.
Nahida, Kokomi, and whatnot. They're not sexualizing on it. So because China actually implied a rule where over sexualizing and whatnot is haram in their entire country. So due to that, they start to get creative. They opened up created some very nice looking characters that's not sexual or like very, sexy and whatnot. And made a character that actually looks decent and is actually very good in game, even though they got a little bit of a backlash. But after that, they were people like begging, like, I want to have a rerun of this character because this character's OP, kind of thing.
True.
Yeah, Kokomi, for example.
I do gotta say though, like, you gave some Western examples, you gave some Asian examples. I feel like Japan specifically, but also increasingly Korea and China are like way ahead of this like franchising package. Like, of course we have the typical like, okay, we'll do merch, we'll show up at events, like typical like game marketing stuff. But the ecosystem that they have in place, like in Japan for example, right, is so crazy, and it's been around for like decades, where you can create something and immediately have the ecosystem where, okay, I make a manga, it gets made into an anime, it gets made into a game, it gets made into a stage play, and then from there they branch off even further. There are voice actor podcasts, right, or radio shows, there are like live events, even to give like an anime specific example, right, they branched off into music pretty heavily at one point in time. I'm
Yes.
thinking of like Kyoto Animation, for example, when they released Free, the swimming anime with the boys. Like there was no reason for the Free boys to have music careers, but they did. Like they released full-on like albums just with the voice actors. Like the way that the
Correct.
ecosystem is so in place for expansion of like franchising is crazy, like in those countries specifically.
Yes.
But I also
So-
do feel like you said, it's very fan servicey, and I think it's almost created to be fan servicey so that they can earn more money from it. Because that's how they
Yes.
keep like the franchising alive, right?
So the thing is about here is that the three countries like Korea, China, and Japan, they have different upbringings. By this I mean like, for example, for China, they like to exploit stuff. They like to exploit a lot of things. They
Businessmen.
yeah, they're businessmen. They thrive on exploitations. Korea is also exploitation, but exploitation on skills. For example, the looks and whatnot. It has been their standard. Looks is standard. So exploiting, if you can dance, you're exploited. If you can sing, you're exploited. In China, they exploit in terms of numbers. They have so much numbers. They're basically the number one populated country in the world, right? Japan, they had to make from scratch and they have to make it decent. Their voice acting was amazing, is actually amazing, and any kind of like product they release to the public used to be and sometimes still is very, very good. It's not like something cheap, like, you know, hey, I just want to have these functions and that's it. Have a nice day. But for Japan, no, I want to release this game and I want it to be very, very decent, not just some crappy stuff on the side. So, wait.
Okay.
So,
I think you bring up a good point in terms of culture, I think, is the word here, is the key word here. Because even when we look at games, right, and to just bring it back to storytelling a little bit, right? Obviously, the types of stories that are told are very different, but I think the way that the stories are structured are also very different in the sense that I find a lot of the games that come from, especially like studios in Japan that are intent on making money, let's put it that way. Or studios from China that intend on making money, like they make games so that they can make money from it, right?
yes.
Like the
So,
intention and the stories that they produce are so different from like the Western mindset, where I feel like it's, although of course everybody wants to be making money from games because why else would they be in games, right?
Correct.
But I think there's way more emphasis on the art form and
So,
perhaps more of an appreciation for the art form in Western countries, whereas in Asian countries there's an appreciation, but also if you don't make money from it, then what's the, like, it's almost useless in a way.
yes.
Because that's just the way like a lot of people are brought up in Asian countries, where if I'm doing something that I like, I need to be making money from it.
Yep.
Yes. So the thing about how bad is it in Japan is in China is literally this. They had to go to a point where they have to make national or like literal rules nationally to have to moderate gaming industry in China. Not Korea, not Japan, but they have to actually create a moderation. They actually have to have a proper rules laws on gaming in China. And due to that, and that's why China, or like Genshin and whatnot, they move out of China to actually capitalize on it further. Like, for example, gacha, it's banned in China. It's actually moderated.
Is it
or taxed.
actually?
Yes.
Oh, text. Okay.
Tax, or I don't know, there's some sort of moderation on it. So in China, they literally can't profit much from gacha.
That's literally Hall of Hoyo versus Plan though. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much that. So China was that bad, and the reason why China, what the fuck? The reason why China get to the point where where they are now is due to the number of their population is just way too much, and they are growing, or they evolve faster because they have so much more populace.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much the only reason why. If Japan has like twice as much of people in their country, they can actually progress faster than any other country. It's just because the number of people in China makes them able to progress. Oh shit. I need this. And I need to become your AWACS.
Earwax, huh?
Basically, terms in Ace Combat. Basically, I'm like the one from far away shooting people and marking
okay.
like enemies here, enemies there. Have fun, guys. So I can talk while you guys do the.
I mean, nothing's happening yet anyways, so we're all good for now.
Yeah, we low-key shit on a bit of the systems in place, and I just want to clarify that not everyone is doing such a terrible job.
On what?
Because like, okay, we so far we've covered both the Western and the Asian perspectives, right? The ecosystems that are in place for like franchise expansion and for supporting creatives and making money from their stories and all that good stuff, right? Each culture has their own struggles, right? For Western side, we're seeing like I would say the standards that people have for stories have raised. Like,
oh hell yeah!
To the point where even to the point where if like representation is not done properly, like people will have an issue with it, which is the way that it should be, I feel. Like people's standards for media have to constantly be on the rise, and we're kind of seeing the opposite happen almost in Asian countries, where people are very complacent is like the mean word. But complacent, you know, like they're used to franchises being like this, and they're used to the tropes, and they like the tropes, and they stick with it, which is all good for them because that means the ecosystem has more time to like stabilize and support them further. But personally, I'm more interested in the Western feel, just because I'm personally like very interested in where stories can innovate and what sort of support is given to storytellers. And actually, like, I want to segue into Netflix a little bit, because I feel like, and I'm the only person I think who has this opinion, but I feel like Netflix is gonna become the biggest player in like video game franchising in like the next 5-10 years. Also, sorry, I'm really far away from you guys and I'm not helping at all. I'm coming back. So basically, Netflix has been producing their own video games for a while now, and it's mostly been mobile stuff because they're really targeting like the mainstream, right? So they've mostly been doing mobile games. They did like a Stranger Things game a while back. There's another one I can't remember, but it's basically games that spawn from their own IPs.
Hide.
But it's recently taken an even bigger step where they acquired a whole game studio. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Oxenfree, the indie game.
We should go around.
But yeah, they acquired it went viral, like the indie game went viral a while back. It was a narrative like horror experience.
Like what experience?
It was a narrative horror game.
Oh, okay.
Where you can choose like the individual dialogue of like the characters and affect the way that they speak to each other and their relationships, and it was really cool. And Netflix acquired that studio to make games for them moving forward, and they, on top of that, like started to release a bunch of games that are free on mobile for their subscribers. They recently did the Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, I believe it's called, on mobile. Oxenfree is obviously on mobile now. What else? Quite a few, But yeah, it's basically like their library of games that are free for their audience just keeps growing, which is quite crazy to me. Because it's the first time that like any sort of traditional media platform has supported video games to this extent. And I feel like that's the future, you know, like Netflix is gonna become a huge like gaming house. Just because not only are they able to make a TV show or a movie from it, they can expand into video games, they can do merch, like they can become a fully fledged like ecosystem by themselves if they wanted to. Which is something that like no other platform is able to do right now.
To me, wait, let me just dance around with it for a bit. On my way, give me a sec. Too far.
Nah, that's the team.
I got it.
So, like in esports, right? It was the same actually thing, same phenomenon happened on esports as well.
Oh.
So, in Malaysia, the moment where esport was trying to rise up, this was like pre-pandemic, where games, who's that guy again? Site something? Site Sadiq?
It's like Kuno.
Site Sadiq, yeah.
Oh, Side Sadiq.
Yeah, so Site Sadiq was trying to promote
Totally
about
different.
trying to promote the youth gaming scene and whatnot and so on and so forth. There were so many people who started to invest in esports scene. Red Bull is normal, Razer is normal, but did you know AirAsia has their own esports team?
Oh yeah.
Nope.
Yep. So AirAsia has their own esports team. They are actually
For a few years now, right?
yeah, something like that.
But yeah, you wanna continue your your conspiracy of Netflix?
Actually, like, okay, Netflix will be, if they play it right, they will be the next big thing because
See, that's what I'm saying.
because
If they play their cards right.
yeah, it's a big avenue. Nobody's capitalizing on it, like literal, like actually becoming the big thing. You know, like we all know Steam is doing that, but Steam is just Steam. But then we have the moment Epic came out, there's Epic exclusives, and then we have by platform exclusive, we have Sony exclusive, we have Xbox exclusive, then we have Switch exclusives, and then suddenly like Netflix is like, hey guys, you already, you know, what if they want to play Witcher or like they want to play these good movies or good new series, and then suddenly there's a game about it. We're gonna fund it. We're gonna make very good things about it. The thing is, I love some of the stuff that Netflix does. For example, some of the series like Wednesday, for example, it's so damn good. Netflix has a lot of like good series and whatnot that's not available elsewhere. That they have their own style of doing something, and when you translate it into the game, I feel like that's a huge avenue where they can just capitalize nicely if they play their cards right. If they know how they're going to do about this and play around with it. Probably take them 2-3 years, or probably even less. They'll be the next big thing. Easily.
Actually, speaking of like the quality of the shows on Netflix, right? I feel like that's probably my biggest concern right now. Because Netflix feels very like coin toss at the moment, where there are some really, really good shows and there are some really like questionable level shows. I think like a good comparison, because two of them came out around the same time, is The Witcher, right?
Okay.
The Witcher season 1 on Netflix was fantastic. Then it started to go downhill season 2 and 3, whether it was because like Netflix wasn't keeping a close enough eye on it, or the showrunners like slipped and they weren't like the right picks or something, but it started to go down, which is a waste of a really big franchise, IMO.
Yeah, it is.
And then comparing
especially
to
taking
what
out Harry Cavill out of
HBO
it.
Yeah. No, Harry Cavill left because the show, like the people who are running the show didn't respect the source material enough, which is really saying something.
Yep.
And I think that versus what HBO Max is doing now with The Last of Us, I know you don't follow that site too much, but they're doing a really good job of adapting the show. And I feel like that's the biggest point of contention right now, where Netflix can set up this entire ecosystem But if the quality of the product is gonna be bad, then it's not gonna be much of an ecosystem. Especially since, you know, tying back to what we were saying earlier, like the standards that people have for media now are so much higher than they used to be. And with like HBO Max doing a really good job, even Disney Plus is doing a really good job with really big franchises, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's no reason for
MCU.
Netflix to be doing this bad. I mean, and to be fair, like I'm not like the biggest fan of the MCU, but there were some banger. Okay, I am a big fan of the MCU, but
Need I
But
remind
because
you?
I'm a big
Didn't
fan
you
of
do
the
a whole
MCU.
tier list of MCU movies?
I did, but I was very salty about it also, if you remember, because
That is true.
the MCU has been slipping as well. But like,
It is, yeah.
yeah, I honestly think like the only platform that has really been doing all these series justice right now to me is HBO, because a lot of good shows are landing on HBO now. So, but yeah, of course, it's
Pedro Pascal is on HBO now.
and Pedro Pascal is also on Disney Plus. Okay, to be fair, the Star Wars stuff, fantastic. The Marvel stuff, questionable. But anyway, that's like tangenting. But yeah, I do feel like Netflix, if they play their cards right and they get their act together, there's so much potential there, because they're actually investing money into it, at least, you know, compared to let's say Disney. And I'm really salty about this, is because Disney has access to some of the biggest franchises in the world right now, and they're doing nothing with it. They're just making more TV shows and more movies when they could be expanding into so many more avenues. Like, even the merchandising game, they are still so old-fashioned about it, where they are just making toys. Like, okay, toys are fun, figurines are fun, but like, if they invested into video games, they would make bank. Like, if they invested in a big way, you know, like, they would be making so much money.
You know what's the sad thing about that? Is the fact that I think they did. I don't know who commissioned it, but remember they made the Guardians of the Galaxy game?
Yeah. Was it
It's
them?
I don't know. I need to check back on that info. But
So.
it was a good game. Like, genuinely, a lot of people enjoyed it. The issue is the fact that the marketing was so poor or something. I don't know. That the game sales was just very low.
I
And
never
think-
heard of that, actually.
Yeah, see? Exactly. So I think because of that, not because of it, but that will be one of the reasons why Disney will not be franchising into video games. Just because they do have a tendency of like, oh, it didn't work out one time, we're not going to do it again anymore.
They don't know how to do it. They don't want to learn about it.
Yeah, basically.
Also, Alice says bye. Bye, Alice.
Bye, Alice.
Bye, Alice.
Thank you for games.
Thanks for games.
Thank you for the
Thanks for the
carry.
wins.
I mean, we've been talking a lot about franchising, and all that.
Yes.
But I want to sound off from you guys. Like,
Okay.
are we for it? Are we against it? Do we what are our thoughts? Like, do we think it harms the creative process? Do we think it helps it?
I'm not against it, for sure.
I'm going to die to the rain.
Oh shit, no!
No! Really?
Bye bye.
Okay. we gotta-
I've not answered about the franchising thing. To be honest, I'm kind of down for it. Mainly because I just want content. Like,
Fair.
as a
Fair.
consumer, I'm down for it. Especially if it's a franchise that I'm interested in.
True.
Like, obviously, it would be upsetting, like, if they don't do the franchising justice, or like they make content outside of video games that are just shit. But I'm honestly down for it. I'll be very excited for franchising.
Yeah. As long as they don't make it bad, it's all Gucci.
Also, did you know, Zell, if you revive me as well, it's fucked up?
Oh.
Double
I did not know
revive is
that.
faster.
Out of the way.
Okay, it's almost done. Let's get out of the storm.
That Chewbacca screen.
Alright. Where do we go? Over there.
Yeah, I think I echo you in the statement as well. Like, it's hard to be against franchising because content is content, right? But
Yeah.
it's also, I think, a valid concern for
Zal, come back, come back.
Okay.
like, okay, not only is content content, right? But basically, by giving creators more avenues to earn money, you know, then we'll hopefully give them more avenues to be creative and take more risks, you know. And because I feel like one of the biggest reasons why like we might get stale storytelling these days is because creatives are just too stressed about making money.
Yeah.
And I feel like in an ideal world that shouldn't be the case, where they should be able to express and create whatever they need, because that's like the value of the arts, right?
Yeah.
And
That-
if
that-
we can,
that's-
if franchising helps us get there, I am so for it. But also, I am worried though that whether it's done properly or not, I guess the concern
Yeah.
is that franchising is the number one way right now that like most people find out about video game IPs for the first time. Like my dad, for example, right? He's totally part of the mainstream. The only time he's ever like the first time he knew about The Last of Us, it was because of the TV show. Like there's no other, like he didn't even know Monster Hunter, like for example, like he only knew about Monster Hunter because Monster Hunter did like a movie adaptation.
A shitty one, but
Yeah. So my concern is that if we get too many shitty adaptations, I'm afraid that it's gonna cause platforms to give up
Doubts.
on
Yeah.
like wanting to do adaptations at all because they perform bad. And you know how like big execs think, right? Where like, oh, it performs
Yeah.
bad
Yeah.
because the source material is bad. But no, it's just the adaptation is really bad. And
you didn't know how
like,
to do your shit, basically.
yeah, and adaptations like The Last of Us is giving me hope, thank God, because it's doing. Do you know it's outperforming House of Dragons right now?
Oh shit, really?
Yeah, it outperformed House of Dragons. Like, we are 1-to-1. You know, like we beat them in episode 1, episode 2. Like, I've no doubt episode 3 is gonna do better as well. Like in terms of viewership, interactions online, like they're doing better in like every way possible, and that gives me so much hope because maybe it'll make like studios see that, you know, when done well, there's actually huge value in it, you know. Because for a while there, I was really worried that like, oh god, are we really gonna benchmark the performance of video game media or video game adaptations to like Uncharted or Monster Hunter or like all these B-grade movies? Or even The Witcher, which is like going down, right? Like, I was so worried that that was gonna be it. But I'm starting to have hope again, and I hope like the trend continues like in an upward fashion.
Like it used to be very bad, like in a way where, you know, the Avatar: The Last Airbender and Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, I think that's
Yeah.
it's not strictly a video game example, but I think that's a really good example as well, because that's anime entering the mainstream, right? Or like animation entering the mainstream. Like my parents' generation, or even some of my friends, are not aware of Avatar: The Last Airbender until they saw the live action on Netflix. And if that's like gonna be the benchmark of how people think of the franchise, oh man. So that's
Zal, you can come over
probably
first.
my big concern.
Oh, okay, coming. Yee-hoo! Hi.
But it's gonna be an uphill climb for a while, I think, for sure. But
Bagus
I'm
besar dah.
starting to have hope again, hopefully.
Brownie, I know you're keeping track.
I think it's 5. I don't think we
Should
beat
try.
Hera's
yeah.
our record with
I
Hera
mean,
yet.
we still
Hera
have
was 6.
one last. Yeah, we still have one last part, which is the fact that it's the wrap up.
Yeah, we're wrapping up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Zal, as someone who is clearly passionate about video games, because this whole how long is this? 2.5 tangent of us, or mainly you, talking about video games. um,
Oh god.
have you ever thought about working in the video games industry, specifically Malaysia?
So, yes, I do. But the but here, the big but here.
The big but.
Yes, the big but here is that the I I I am not an elitist, but I have like a certain standard that I like to go for. Some things that when I see like when people do it, like for example, when I graduated from my my batch in IT and graphics multimedia was the shittiest one I ever had because everybody was just thinking about the graphics and it's by textbook as well. They don't focus on the camera angles, they don't focus on the hardware, they don't focus on the music, they don't focus on the other aspect of the game. They think like, oh, if I'm just in graphics multimedia, I want to create something good. So one of my elective classes, which is VR, they couldn't even run it on their phone because their game was too big and graphic intensive. And then for my group, we actually got the hardware points and marks and whatnot because we know the limits and whatnot. But yeah, basically the 4 flat student of my batch hated me so much because they're yeah, that's a different kind of story.
Did
we
we
were-
get kicked out because they couldn't find a match?
I want to work in the game industry. I would love to work on that, but there are certain things where they have to straighten out. Like for example, I tried to create my own standards in esports, and my advisor literally just kicked me out of the thing because she said that my methods are unethical, not unethical, are not usual. It's irregular. It's not following the textbook. Basically, it's the only club in the university whose committee is reaching 32 people. And usually they only have like 15 people. And I'm like, no, we need 32 people. We have to create everything nicely. After she kicked me out, she cut down everything to 18 people. And she moved people who doesn't know how to do some of those works to a certain position. And basically broke the entire club. Almost breaking it inside out. And I actually went kind of like into war with her. The thing about Malaysia's game industry, they don't want to break out of their shell. For example, No Straight Roads break out of their shell. They actually went to do something very, very risky and create one hell of a nice game. And apa tu? Agent Ali also break out of their shell, creating a story that is not normal. Or like not the usual standard of Malaysia. It's a lot more.
Yeah, I haven't been following Agent Ali that closely, but I've heard a lot of good things about it. Like the fandom is very active, right?
Yeah. Do you watch Ruby, RWBY?
No, but I've been meaning to.
Okay, so Agent Ali's story is not like Bobo Boy. It's a dark story.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's one way to
Holy
realize it.
Yeah. So you think like, oh, it's just gonna be a kid trying to save the world, yada yada yada, and he has power and like Bobo Boy basically. No, he has a more tragic background after that.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
I was like, oh, it's gonna be something like, but then they throw you off on season 3 where, oh, basically this person died. What the fuck?
What?
I'm like, huh? Okay, this is not. And then it actually sparked some controversy, some controversials and whatnot. But they claim that no, this story is not for kids. They never actually said Agent Ali is for kids. It is a kids movie, but it's not for kids. The kid went through rough shit. Yeah, that's it. And people are like, oh, okay.
Damn, respect. I mean, just a tangent a little bit, but like, actually the best children's media that I've ever watched are people that, or at least it's very commonly said, right, that the best children's media are not written for children. They are adult stories written in a way that a child can understand. Like it's complex themes simplified into a way that children are able to digest
Oh,
it
wait, that's
and
a PC.
gather meaning from it, which I love. I love thinking about that because I find that so true to be so true about my favorite like children's cartoons like Phineas and Ferb and even Steven Universe. Even She-Ra did this quite well. Like, sure, they might be mostly watched by children, but I feel like people don't give enough credit, you know? And it's so cool that a Malaysian animation is also doing something like that.
Look, the
Yeah.
one right below is very low.
But yeah, the games industry has to take out this mentality where if you're breaking out of your shell, if you're doing something risky or out of the book, irregular methods and whatnot, it doesn't mean it's bad. The revolution or like the not revolution, what do you call that thing? The innovation comes when you do weird shit. You don't have to put in the you don't have to put it well in Malaysia you don't have to put the LGBTQ and Q stuff and whatnot. You don't have to. Games can be amazingly good without it. So I want Malaysia to do that. Like for example, one of the things that I talked to my friend is that I would be down. For example, you know how Japan likes to for example, like Ghost of Tsushima or Nimuja and whatnot, they literally use their history as like a game setting and they added like zombies or monsters and demons and shit, right? Like on Nimuja, right? Do that with Malaysia's history, but just because of fantasy's sake, like give freaking, I don't know, Hang Tuah like a power to slash wind or something, I don't know, with elements and whatnot. And like the Putri or whatever, I don't know, just have some sort of powers or whatnot. Just create fantasy lifestyle from Malaysia. It's like Malaysia reimagined. There's all kinds of like things. I would be down for that. I would be down if they like tell a game with that tells the story of like the founding of Malacca. The founding of Malacca,
Cool, yeah.
yeah, the founding of Malacca is there, like the name and whatnot. But the story is like, oh, they had to go through some wars. They had to go through like some this magical bullshit or whatever. I'll be down for that. Like, just go exaggerate. But people already know, like, nah, it's not. That's not what happens. But the name Malacca came from. He just like sat under a tree, like, oh, this is a Malacca tree. Oh, okay. I'd be down with that. Yeah.
Actually, I don't know how closely you've been following the Malaysian gaming scene, but it has changed a lot. Maybe since the last time that, well, since you graduated, maybe? Because, like, I can name a bunch of studios that are doing things that you are describing right now. Like, No Straight Roads, Metronomic, the studio, is one of them that innovated in terms of, I think, game mechanics the most. Because they wanted to make a game that was that would react to like the music, right? And you attack according to the beat and parry and all that, and that was really cool.
Yes,
mechanically.
Yes, that one.
But if it's story-wise, like, have you heard of Persona Theory Malaysia? Have
No.
you heard of Persona Theory? Because
No, I have
they are coming up with a game that is exactly what you described. Although it's a visual novel style. It's called Cabaret.
I was about to say that. I can't remember the name of the game.
Yeah, it's about a guy who gets transported into sort of like an afterlife situation, and he gets transformed into a demon, and he has to serve tea and kind of like speak to all these other demons from Malaysian folklore or Southeast, actually not just Malaysian, I think it's general Southeast Asian folklore.
Southeast Asia, yeah.
Southeast Asian folklore, to understand their plight and figure out a way to get turned back into human. Yeah. So it's really cool. Like, that's, and not only just Cabaret, but even before that, I think you'll like Fires at Midnight, which was their first game. Because that one was, the concept was simple, right? It's like a 5-hour game. It's about, it takes place in a world where how do I word this? I'm not the right person for this, sadly. Okay, I'll word this in a crude way, okay?
Okay.
But it takes place in a world where unless you have sex with someone that you truly love, right? And you feel
Okay.
that love towards them,
Uh-huh.
when you like make love to them, and if you don't fulfill that condition, you will burst into flame.
Oh.
So it follows this couple who are kind of like in a tumultuous space with their relationship, and it like explores like their relationship with themselves, with each other, and it's really cool.
Hit me with the truck. I'd like to be isekai there.
But yeah, that's why I was like, how do I word
Interesting.
this? But yeah, it's.
I mean, you hooked Zell in, so that's a good way to say it, I guess.
I mean, that is the premise of the game. I mean,
It is true, yeah. That is basically the premise of the game.
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, that's just one studio that's doing something really cool right now. But even within like Southeast Asia, like A Space for the Unbound is a great example, because they're literally, there's so much like Indonesian influence. It's not directly Malaysian, of course, because they're an Indonesian studio, but
Yeah.
You'll be surprised, there's like a lot of reference to like 90s culture and trends that like apply across both Indonesia and Malaysia, I feel. Even when I was playing like the first like 4 or 5 hours, I was like, wow, this is so nostalgic, and I didn't even grow up in this country. But I think like culturally we are quite similar, like Malaysia
I'm
and
kinda
Indonesia.
dead, guys. Yeah.
Do we wanna go on more or return the lobby?
One more, because we do have 2 more questions.
A space of what again? A space for the unbound.
Especially
yeah?
Unbound. It's the key that I wanted to give you, but you belum confirm.
Yeah. Like I'm thinking about it now. Like I think I'm down for it after DMC. It's gonna take a while. Nah, I'm finishing DMC tomorrow. I'm probably gonna play that next.
Can. I'll pass you the key afterwards then.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just to wrap things up really, because we've been talking a lot about the past and also some of our predictions about the games industry, especially in terms of franchising. What advices would you give to someone who wants to work in a game industry?
Don't focus on graphics. No. Like
I
I'm
mean,
not
yeah.
saying that for banter, right? Like what makes the game fun has a lot of other aspects. The reason why I chose graphics and multimedia, and I actually went I was the only one and the last person in my entire university to take research in graphics multimedia course. And I researched, my topic was music in games, or music can actually reduce stress or have like effect mentally and whatnot, or psychologically. So that was my that was the multimedia part. People are almost like everybody else is just like graphics or like stop motion and whatnot. I went literally research R&D about music. So I have a lot. I like to read and I like to speak in English, and I know I can ace it. It's just basically me trying to.
You know what's the worst thing?
What?
That's basically me when I start uni. Because I'm not a graphical person.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot draw for the shit of my life.
I can draw weapons.
But I guess. But the thing I'm really most interested in, and like the reason why we are the reason why we have this episode about game narrative, is because I want to be a game writer, partly because I really do think video games are like pretty much the future for any narrative storytelling that you want to do, because there is player immersion, there is the, I can't remember the term, but it was basically it basically says that it's, as a viewer or as a player, it is I, not whatever the character's name is. That experience that you have, that relatability that you have with the character that you're playing. So that's like basically the reason why I fell in love with games, and like why I want to write for video games.
Yeah, like I don't know, just don't focus on graphics. If you guys can contribute to a game in terms like game design or game development, is not just graphics. You can develop and design that, yes, but sound, for example, if any of you played Elite Dangerous, the sound engineering for that game is amazing. It's like they literally built a spaceship and record the sound directly from it.
Oh shit, that's cool.
Yeah. So when I heard like my friend played it and like they're like charging up to space jump and whatnot, I'm like, holy shit, that sounds amazing. He actually played that sound on like his car speaker and the surround sound and whatnot. I literally felt like the car's trying to like take off or something. I'm like, holy shit, this sounds amazing.
That is so cool.
Ooh, what the fuck am I doing? I don't know. I'm getting shot at. But yeah, focus on a lot of things like camera angles and whatnot. It's actually part of where the game is amazing. For those who play Genshin and whatnot, you guys can take a look about Genshin from oh hey, there's something shooting me. You can take a look at how Genshin is on release and whatnot. Their animation, not just animation, literally their camera angles, their narration and whatnot is just so bad. But the moment they reach after, let me find enemies real quick. I need to help.
There's one here.
Like Genshin.
But yeah, you're saying Genshin.
Genshin's music improved after the moment they started releasing Dragon Spine and Inazuma. Inazuma's music's amazing. Inazuma's setting is amazing. Their camera angles for some scenes, even though it's short, they can be longer, but some scenes with Raiden Shogun and whatnot really impacted the entire thing, and people will be like, holy shit, that happened. It changed rather than something so cliche and normal, but it made it so much more impactful just because they got better at making the scene look so much more beautiful, so much more amazing. That is a very big aspect of the game where people don't focus on. They think like, we just make something look amazing, like Cyberpunk 2077. Is it runnable? Is the game design, mechanics, everything good? Nah, it's shite. You literally pay. If I want to make a comparison, you literally play for like a AAA level of game, price of game, for someone's degree end of year project. That's how bad it is. Like, dude, if you want to see a very successful game, think of Skyrim. Skyrim was released 11 years ago, and it's still not obsolete. Yes, 2012, I think.
Jesus.
And it's not obsolete.
Oh my god, I'm having like a different realization of like 2012 was 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Oh god.
So you take that into realization where a game 10 years ago, almost like every other game that has been released 10 years ago, is obsolete. Skyrim hasn't. Minecraft hasn't. And Minecraft is one hell of a simple game.
That's true.
So tell me, game design, do you need graphics to play stuff like Skyrim or Minecraft? No, you don't. Game design? Hell yeah. There's a reason why it's called multimedia and not just media. There's multiple things in the game.
Interesting.
Yep. Focus on other things than graphics. That's my advice. If you guys want to go into gaming.
I mean, I think that's true with just any sort of like creative industry as well, right? That I think people tend to gravitate towards the most flashy aspect of the job, but honestly, there's so much there are so many cogs that make like one thing work. You know, so many invisible job roles that nobody's aware of that contribute to making this so good. And like, just to tie it back to the whole franchising thing, like, honestly, I feel like that would be a good path to take if you want to support like the gaming community further. I know some like amazing people, for example, who work in pushing like the subscription format for the Xbox Game Pass, or some people who work like platform side trying to improve like the user experience, and all these are very important aspects to supporting the gaming community.
Correct.
Yeah, so it is important to tell the stories. It's fun being the creative, but I think there's also like a lot of areas you can focus on in the industry.
Also, just to sidetrack that, I have a gift for you.
Oh, but I have a tactical.
I know
keep
you
both.
well. I know you well.
I'll keep both.
All right, I guess that pretty much leads us to the final question, which is a question for you, Zal, specifically. One person there, by the way.
Yes.
What are your plans for 2023 as a streamer?
Yeah, anything you want to plug, anything you want to promote.
Well, I can't be a river since I'm not a literal streamer.
Stop!
Okay, that aside, my plans for 2023, right?
In.
So, Spain.
Mm-hmm.
My plan. Oh, My target. Okay, aside from like growing as a streamer, I'm opting to try to go for like what do you call that? To say bigger collaborations. My target is to have like a big collaboration regardless of like where I am. I just want to have fun, play games. I'm not like looking for people like for follows or subs and whatnot. I want to play with like some big time streamers that I see fun. I forgot like what are the not Hololive, I forgot. Hochimachi, no, not Suisei. There's this Nina Kosaka. Nina Kosaka.
Ooh, I'm not familiar.
Okay, Nina Kosaka is one of the VTubers, and the way she plays the game, the way she plays Risk of Rain, is literally the way I analyze and theory crafted the whole entire thing. And the moment I saw it, I'm like, shit, I want to play with this person. I like playing this person. I would love playing with this person, definitely. So I want to play with people that is not to say famous, but I know they are fun to play with. And unfortunately, people who I know they are fun to play with are usually people who are like appearing on the main page because they're big streamers, you know? That's one.
Yeah.
Second is, well, I want to make merchandises. That's one. I tried to make merchandises last year. So my kind of merchandises are not normal kind. It's something that you can play around with. For example, for those who are not in Comic Fiesta, a community Discord, we have Comic Fiesta's own official Minecraft server. You have to have a paid Minecraft, a proper Minecraft account and whatnot, Mojang, Microsoft, so on. And what the fuck was that? Give me a sec. Okay, yeah. So Comic Fiesta community Discord Minecraft server. I did some, not quiz. What do you call that? Some puzzles and whatnot. If you manage to solve those puzzles, I will actually treat you to Sushi King in real life. So that's what I gave.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's what I gave to them. So my kind of like merchandise will have puzzles on it, like you know, what do you call that? Not poetry. What do you call this? Riddles. Yeah. So I will have riddles and whatnot for you to solve, and if you manage to get it, you probably get some, you know, some secret stuff. Who knows?
You know what this reminds me of?
Yeah.
My pet's ARG.
Yeah, I was just
My
about
pet's
to say. I want
you
to
know
say, but at the
game
same
theory?
time, I was like, I fucking talk about game theory like every living
I
moment
will
of my
do it
life.
then.
Thank you.
Okay, Zel, do you know about game theory?
I heard of them.
YouTube channel.
Uh-huh.
So YouTube channel is basically what the title is. Game. They analyze games and make like just theory craft from games. They have released merch that has hidden like Easter eggs and basically mini games and puzzles that you can solve. Which actually does come with a prize if you manage to solve the puzzles.
I believe it's like a commemorative coin, so it's a really cool like collectible thing.
Yeah.
And kind of, I think for like the first 100 people that solve it or something. So like the ARG begins with a clue that you can find on like a jacket or something, and then from there it leads to like a whole online / like merch situation. But it's quite cool because it doesn't require you to buy like their whole merch line. To
I got shot from
get
something
it,
over
for
there.
example. Like, ooh, whoa, I'm getting shot.
Special?
Yeah, the special merch that they have. There's also just the normal merch, but there are special merch like the jacket, like what I mentioned. That has the hidden games, so to speak.
Yeah. So it totally reminds me of that.
Do we just annihilated everyone? No. Almost.
Shit.
That
Yeah,
is approaching, provoking.
I just gotta run, okay?
Let's go to isolation. Actually, thanks, Nat.
He just left.
So,
You're
no,
gonna
no,
die
he
from
kind of like fell. He died.
That's what I
Oh, he died.
Oh man.
Okay, but yeah, I think
Guess
with
we
that,
got as many wins out of that podcast as we could. Shall we go back to lobby?
yes.
Yes.
Are you okay?
Merchandise.
You don't have to answer this, but what like quarter are you aiming to release your merch?
Okay,
Q1,
my merchandise is
Q2.
going to be somewhere you can buy it, right?
Uh-huh.
So if we're going to have Comic Fiesta this year, it's going to be sold there. Okay?
Are you planning to sell it online?
I'm planning to get a booth. And it's not just for me. If I can, I would like to invite Cham Drinkers as well to sell merchandise.
Time to make the Cham drink. Cham drinkers.
Yeah.
The Cham drinkers.
Like I would love to have that, just just to pass it around, just to tell people that we're here, we're alive. And I know last year's Comic Fiesta, there's a lot of game companies and even indie game companies opened up their booth. So I think it'll be one hell of a way for us to make communication networks and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's the target. That's the stuff.
Interesting. Do you have any final comment that you would like to give? Parting words. Today's podcast.
If you make a game that has good story, how do I put this into a sentence? If anyone ever makes a game and you have good stories and whatnot, make sure you guys create characters that can be remembered. By remembered, I mean like the villains or the antagonists or the people that you have to go through as an obstacle. Give them very memorable things. Like for example, I can't get this boss in my mind, which is from Path of Exile. His name is Zaro. I think he was the previous emperor, and his words were very wise. Whoever designed this character or this enemy was so damn good, because every sentence that came out of his mouth is so woke. So here's the thing, that I've been playing this game since beta, but when this enemy came out, this sentence hit me and it stuck with me ever since. There is a fine line that separates consideration and hesitation. The former is wisdom, the latter is fear. That's the entire thing. So if you guys are considering, or if you guys are in a dilemma, if you guys are having an anxiety about a decision and whatnot, is it because you're afraid of the unknown, or is it because you are considering the consequences, the risk you're taking? Those are two very different things. One is that you don't know what's going to happen, so you're just scared of something that you don't know if it's good or not. The other one, you know what's going to happen, but are you willing to pay the price to take the risk and whatnot? That's a completely different avenue of like how you want to approach something. So yeah, that's my parting words. Haha, yes.
Let's go.
Hog. But yeah, I guess with that pretty much concludes our episode 6 podcast with Xel. Xel, thank you so much for joining in. Thank you so much for pretty much going on tangent about video games in ways that we didn't think of, and like pretty much introducing a lot of different ideas and concepts about video games to us. And yeah, with that, hopefully we shall see you guys next Friday.
Yes.
I think we're getting Mon, right? Since Mon said she's only free in February.
If she's free, then next Fortnite might be Mon.
Fortcast Fridays.
Hell yeah.
I'm not using the terms right now.
No, next like Fortnite, as in like Fortnite, like in 2 weeks' time.
I hate you sometimes.
I think you forget that Fortnite is a real word.
Yep.
No comments.
Drink our last cup of coffee.